In this video we're going to do a quick air filter service on this 12,000 mile diesel BMW, and we're going to also attempt to change the oil. As a first step you need to get underneath the car, so we need to get the car onto ramps, or you can use a jack to lift the car up, place the car on some jack stands, and that way you can work a lot safer. With the car safely on ramps, we can then open the bonnet, pull twice in this case. As I opened the bonnet, I noticed that there were some leaves, so I'm just going to quickly remove those, and then we can crack on. That way everything is nice and generally tidy. Now on to the actual air filter itself. The airbox is held in by 4 clips. 2 in the front, and of course, 2 in the back. Pry off the clips using a screwdriver or pry tool. Pull upwards on the airbox to separate it from the dampers. There are 3 dampers in total. With minimal effort, you're going to lift the top half of the airbox off from the bottom half. Carefully pull out the air filter by the rubber surround. After removal, we're going to do a brief inspection to make sure that the engine didn't suck in any potential debris. Also, we need to check to make sure there are no watermarks or signs of the engine potentially sucking in water. Now at first the air filter didn't look too bad, but then when I compared it to the new one, there is a bit of a difference. Let me know if you've seen worse. With the old air filter removed, now is a great time to remove any debris, bits of leaves, junk, whatever that is left over in the airbox. You can use a vacuum to vacuum up any of the small particles, or you can just use your hands if you're comfortable doing so. With the airbox nice and clean, we can now insert the new air filter. It's basically the opposite of taking it out, so we separate the top half from the bottom half and carefully position the air filter until the surround is flush within its groove. Inspect the front and the back of the airbox to make sure that it is correctly seated. Never mind the ADHD T-Rex arm. As part of the reassembly, we're going to mount the airbox housing back onto the rubber mounts or dampers. Now reassembly may be a bit tricky, but the key is perseverance. You need to wiggle the mount onto the actual rubber damper until it's correctly seated, and it should look like this. With all the dampers secured, you can now see the bottom half of the airbox is a lot closer and easier to connect to the top half. The clips slide on. Don't forget you have 2 in the front and 2 in the back. And that is basically how you would replace the air filter on a diesel BMW. If you're enjoying what you're seeing so far, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. It really helps us small channels grow. Now here is my attempt at changing the oil and oil filter. Now, whilst working on your car, you may get stuck on certain tasks, and this is why I recommend Just Answer Mechanics. Sometimes your best friend or YouTube mechanics aren't around in a timely fashion, and you need your car back on the road ASAP. So, drop a quick chat to Just Answer Mechanics, they'll get back to you in a timely fashion, then you can hopefully fix it yourself, and you're back on the road. Simples. Use the link below, contact Just Answer Mechanics, and tell them Just Goody sent you. Back to the video. On this particular model, it's a 27mm socket, and I'm using a torque wrench. This is a low torque spec, so if you're getting too much resistance, you're probably turning clockwise or the wrong way. Now to get the oil out from underneath the car, we need a 13mm socket. It's important to remember that you need to loosen, so make sure that the socket set is in the loosen position or turning towards left or anti-clockwise. Failure to do so may result in an expensive oil pan change. Here I am demonstrating the hard way to loosen a bolt. Ideally we want to have an angle where we can pivot and use our body weight as leverage. Turn until the oil pan sump bolt is almost all the way out. Adjust the oil catching bucket. And then, disaster. Subscribe and learn from my mistakes. As part of the lessons learned, I would recommend using a deeper bucket, one that isn't as shallow as the one I used. And also if you're using one with an opening at the top, make sure that the opening is wide enough so that you avoid any spills or mess like this. Learn from my mistakes so you don't have to make them. Unfortunately, this is where my recording stopped. Off camera, I replaced the sump plug, I added new oil, changed the oil filter. Yeah, basically the reverse without the mess. Join us for more DIY shenanigans. What are you waiting for? I'm trying to be the best that I can be. I'm trying to be the best that I can be. Hey.